Hello students, I am Dr. Madhavi Kevle, MBBS MD Anatomy, and today's lecture is about the middle ear. The specific learning objectives according to the level of the first year MBBS competency related to middle ear is that you should be able to describe the middle ear under the certain headings like location, shape, boundary, contents, nerve supply and applied anatomy. You should also be able to write the short note on the content of middle ear, and you should be able to describe and draw the label diagram of medial wall of the middle ear. Now here you see this diagram. In this diagram, this purple uh, roughly cube shaped structure is the middle ear. Now in this you see that the middle ear is not completely closed cube. It is having a communication with this part. This is called as the mastoid antrum, and the communication is through this part, which is called additus to the antrum, additus to the antrum. And another communication is with the nasopharynx. This side here will be the nasopharynx, and this tube is called pharyngotympanic tube. So connecting the nasopharynx with the tympanic cavity, which is another name for the middle ear, this is the pharyngotympanic tube. And again summarizing, this is the middle ear which communicates through additus antrum and pharyngotympanic tube. The middle ear, which is also called as the tympanum or the tympanic cavity, it lies between the external and the internal ear. Now, where is it situated exactly? It is a cavity within the petrous part of temporal bone. And what does it contain? It contains many things, but the most important ones are three auditory ossicles. And as we have seen that it communicates with the nasopharynx via auditory tube and with the mastoid via additus to the antrum. Now, since we know that the middle ear is roughly cube shaped, this cube is not completely closed. It has got two openings, and also it is compressed from side to side. On coronal section, it resembles a biconcave disc, something like an RBC, which is compressed at the center and enlarged at the periphery. So now since it is like a cube, its vertical diameter and anteroposterior diameter are same, that is 15 millimeter, but the transverse diameters, because it's shaped like a biconcave disc in the coronal section, that's why the transverse diameter will be very least in the center, means opposite to the center of tympanic membrane. This transverse diameter in the center is 2 millimeter, and at the roof and the floor it is 6 and 4 respectively. So let's see in the diagram. So here you see that the anteroposterior diameter is 15 millimeter. Yes, and vertical diameter is also 15 millimeter, which is making it like a cube, but the cube is flattened when you see it in the coronal section. In the center, this diameter is only 2 millimeter, at the roof it is 6, and at the floor it becomes 4 millimeter. So now why is this middle ear given? So there is the middle ear, it is causing conduction of sound from the external ear to the internal ear, and also while doing so it will amplify the sound. It also helps in protection of this tympanic membrane. Uh, Imagine a tympanic membrane like some instrument like tabla or dhol. So what happens if you beat the tabla or dhol very uh, the diaphragm of this tabla or dhol, if you beat it very loudly, if you beat it with strong force, it will perforate. Similarly, if there is a very strong pressure on this tympanic membrane, it will perforate. So in order to prevent the perforation of tympanic membrane, it is necessary to maintain the equilibrium of pressure on both the sides of the tympanic membrane, so that during explosive sounds, what happens, how it is done, that there are certain muscles inside the middle ear, namely stapedius and tensor tympani. So these muscles, they will contract, so they will prevent the damage to the tympanic membrane by changing its shape. So here let us see the subdivisions of the middle ear. The middle ear is divided into epitympanum, mesotympanum and hypotympanum. This blue structure is the middle ear. And how is this division done? It is done with respect to this structure, which is the tympanic membrane. So everything above the tympanic membrane is called epitympanum, and everything below it is called hypotympanum. Everything at the level of tympanic membrane is called mesotympanum. Now here you see certain structures related to this tympanic membrane, connected to this tympanic membrane. These pink colored structures are these are the ear ossicles, means the bones inside the ear. Now these are three, and you can see it is connecting the tympanic membrane to the internal ear. So now we have seen that the epitympanum, it is connecting the head of the malleus body and short process of incus. So these are the ossicles, and mesotympanum is connecting the handle of the malleus, long process of incus and steps, and it is the narrowest part of the middle ear. Now what are the contents of the middle ear? So the middle ear is a cube that is uh, lined by the mucous lining. Everything inside the mucous lining is air, but outside the mucous lining certain structures are present. What are these structures? There are three ear ossicles, we already are familiar with them: malleus, incus and stapes. There are two muscles, tensor tympani and stapedius, and two nerves, chorda tympani and tympanic plexus. There are also vessels which are supplying and draining the middle ear, and there are ligaments which are attached to these ear ossicles. There are also two joints between these ear ossicles. These are the synovial joints. Now let's study the boundaries with the help of this diagram. Now in this diagram, this is the cube that is open. This is the schematic diagram to show the boundaries and relations of the middle ear. So you are supposed to draw these, students. You are so try to practice. You will have to practice 3-4 times minimum to understand how it is. So let's see, this is the, which boundary is this? Here, starting from, let me tell you, this is the roof, this is the roof, and this is the floor. This is the medial side, and this is the lateral side. Okay, now this is the lateral side, and this is open. So you can imagine a box of this box, the lateral side of one side of the box is opened out so that we can see inside the box. Okay, So on this lateral side you see this purple structure. This purple structure is tympanic membrane, and on that attached are the two bones, malleus and incus, which are called as ear ossicles, and between them is passing the chorda tympani nerve. You see, it's going chorda tympani nerve like this. This is the chorda tympani nerve. Now this hole here, this hole, it is called the adductus to the antrum. Means from this hole, the middle ear, it is communicating with the mastoid antrum, which is nothing but an air filled cavity. We will see it later, but right now understand this is the place from where there is communication with the mastoid antrum. Now coming towards the roof, this yellow structure is the temporal lobe. This yellow structure is the part of the brain, and it is the temporal lobe. Then it is covered by the pia mater. The purple line that you see here, very thin line, that is the arachnoid matter. Arachnoid matter. Below that is the dura mater. So pia, arachnoid, and dura. Outside, outermost one will be dura mater. The blue line. The blue line. Can you see this blue line? Thin blue line here. That is the dura mater. Now below the dura mater, this bony plate is called the tegmen tympani. This brown structure, students, this bony plate is called the tegmen tympani. And now here you see on this lateral side, you see there is a tree trunk like shaped structure. This is the facial canal, which is very important to know, and it makes a marking called the prominence of facial canal. Yes. Now here you see a hockey stick like hook like structure. This is nothing but a structure called processus cochleo cochlearis cochlearis formis. This is, again repeat with me, processus cochleari formis. It's a big word, processus cochleari formis. So this one, this hockey stick like structure, just above in the medial side here, on the medial wall there is this white colored semicircular canal, and this is where the tensor tympani is connected, and there is this long opening. The nasopharyngeal tube opens here, which is also called as the auditory tube. The auditory tube is opening here. Now outside this medial wall, there is a red colored internal carotid artery, which is present inside the carotid canal. Along with it is present the plexus of nerves, which is present around this internal carotid artery. You see here this blue structure. This blue structure is the bulb of internal jugular vein. It is present just below the floor, and very much near it you see this tree-like structure, which is a branch of the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Now this oval structure, this oval structure is called the promontory. This oval structure is called the promontory. This structure is the promontory, and it contains a plexus. You see this branching, this is the tympanic plexus. This is the tympanic plexus. And here is the window, oval window. This small round shaped structure is the round window, and this striated structure above the round window is the sinus tympani. We will see what these parts mean, and you just go through this explanation one more time so that you can draw these structures. And don't worry, right now it might feel like it's very difficult, but we will study it one by one. So coming to the next slide, let's understand this cube like box step by step. So the middle ear is, as we know, that is compared to the six-sided box. Yes, and the so the box will have six sides. So first one is the roof, floor, then it will have anterior wall, posterior wall, medial wall, and lateral wall. So let's see these parts again and again, one by one. Uh, the roof. The roof is formed by a thin plate of bone which is called as tegmen tympani. Now what this tegmen tympani does, as we have seen, that it separates the tympanic cavity from the middle cranial fossa. Yes, and the tegmen tympani also extends posteriorly to form the roof of adytus ad antrum, from where the adytus it will communicate with the mastoid antrum. Now coming to the floor is made with the jugular fossa which is present on the under surface of petrous temporal bone. Now we saw from the diagram that underneath it lies the superior bulb of internal jugular vein. Now this there is a it is there is a tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve which will pierce this floor, and it will take part in the formation of tympanic plexus. Now let's see the anterior wall. Now the anterior wall, we have to divide it into two parts for understanding. The upper part of the anterior wall, it presents two bony canals which are present one above the other like this, two structures one above the other, like from the transverse section it will look like a figure of 8. So these two bony canals, they are parallel to each other, present one above the other, and the upper canal is for the muscle tensor tympani. So the above canal is for the muscle tensor tympani, and the lower canal is for the auditory tube. We saw in the previous picture the white colored structure in the anterior wall. So, we saw from the diagram that the lower part of this anterior wall is bounded by a this carotid canal which contains internal carotid artery and the plexus of nerves around it. Now let's see the posterior wall. The posterior wall, students, and the medial wall are a little bit complicated, so please go through it again and again. So this posterior wall, it separates the tympanic cavity from mastoid antrum and mastoid air cells, but it presents so many things. Let's see. First of all, it presents adytus to the antrum, which is the opening in the upper part through which tympanic cavity will communicate with the mastoid antrum. Then there is a fossa incudis, which means that there is just a small depression and it lodges the short process of incus. Incus, that is a ear ossicle. Then there is a structure called the pyramid, which is a conical bony projection. All this is present below the adytus and it contains the stapedius muscle. Now the vertical part of the facial canal is also present there, which is present just behind the this structure pyramid. Yes, and in this structure, vertical part of facial canal, it is extending up to the stylomastoid foramen. Now the next one is the posterior canaliculus of the chordae tympani. This is means that it's a canal for the passage of this nerve called chordae tympani. Now let's go to the medial wall. The medial wall is also it is formed by a thin bony structure which is the lateral wall of the internal ear, and it also presents a lot of structures, namely promontory. This promontory is a rounded structure. This is a rounded prominence in the so it is formed because of the first turn of this cochlea, since it is coming in contact with the internal ear. Behind this lies the internal ear. So all these are formed because of the impaction of some structures from within the internal ear. So inside the internal ear lie these semicircular cochlea. So they have got some turns. So the first turn of cochlea makes uh, this impression, which is seen from the medial wall side of the middle ear as promontory. So it is the impression of something that is present beyond this medial wall inside the internal ear. That is the structure which is present inside the internal ear is the cochlea, and this prominence on the medial wall is called the promontory. So then the next one is the oval window. Now this oval window and round window, we have seen two in the diagram. They have special names. Fenestra means window, fenestra vestibuli and fenestra cochleae. Now this oval window is closed by the base of stapes and annular ligament. Yes, and the round window, this is closed by fibrous secondary tympanic membrane. So there is one more tympanic membrane which is called as the secondary tympanic membrane, which closes the round window. So basically these are two openings which are closed. Now the next one is the sinus tympani. What do you mean by sinus tympani? It is the depression between the promontory, sorry, it is the depression behind the promontory. Yes, sinus tympani means a depression behind the promontory. And where is this depression? It lies between the oval window and the round window. And this sinus tympani is nothing but the it shows the position of the semicircular canal, one of the semicircular canals. Now the prominence of oblique part of facial canal. So inside lies the facial canal and we see the prominence of it. Now also there is prominence of lateral semicircular canal of the internal ear. Yes, which is seen as a small ridge, which is seen as a small ridge. So uh, let's see the ear ossicles. Now let's understand. These are the ear ossicles. There are three ear ossicles. So there are three ear ossicles. You can see here. This is the malleus from outside to inside. This is the malleus. This is the incus, and this is the stapes. So the malleus is a hammer shaped structure. That's why the name malleus. So it is a hammer shaped structure. It has got a head, a neck. So let me show you. This is the head of the malleus. This is the neck, and there are some process. So lateral process and anterior process. So this is the anterior process, and this is the handle. Handle is also called as the manubrium. So this is the lateral process and this is the anterior process. That means the uh, tympanic membrane is here, situated here, and the outside part, this is the external ear, and on this side towards the stape there is the internal ear. Okay. Now coming also it makes a joint with the incus, incudo-malleolar joint, which is a saddle type of synovial joint. Here is the saddle type of synovial joint between the head of the malleus and the body of the incus. Now this incus, if you can see, look at it, it looks like the tooth, a premolar tooth in shape. Okay, and it has the very big body, very big body, and two very thin processes, two very thin processes, and short process and long process. Yes, and it forms the incudostapedial joint with the head of the stapes, and this is a ball and socket type of synovial joint. This is a ball and socket type of synovial joint. Now this stapes, this muscle stapes, it is resembling a structure called as the stirrup. It is resembling a structure called as a stirrup, and this consists of head, neck, and the this base like structure here is the foot plate. This is the foot plate, and this foot plate will close the oval window and give attachment to a ligament called as the annular ligament. Now let's see the ear ossicles. We have already seen in detail on the diagram, but here just mentioning that there are three ear ossicles: malleus, incus, and stapes. And what they do, because of the synovial joints that we already saw, it forms a bony chain which extends between this tympanic membrane till the oval window. Yes, and through this pathway, there is conduction of these sound vibrations towards the internal ear fluid. Now, these slides we have already seen. Coming to the arterial supply, the blood supply of you should just know for Viva. It is maybe it will be asked in uh, it is not mentioned in competency, but it may be asked sometimes. So you should at least know these. You should at least know these main arteries which are supplying the your middle ear. So which are the arteries? Maxillary artery, auricular artery, posterior auricular artery, middle meningeal artery, and pterygoid canal, and the internal carotid artery. Okay, so let's see the branches. Just you should know the names of them. You should know the names. So the anterior tympanic branch of the maxillary artery, there are two branches from middle meningeal artery. These are the petrosal branch and superior tympanic branch. Then there is a stylomastoid branch of the posterior auricular artery. Then there is the branch from pterygoid canal, the artery of the pterygoid canal, and tympanic branch of internal carotid artery. Now let's see the venous and lymphatic drainage. So the veins, they will drain the to the pterygoid venous plexus. Yes, and it will pass through squamotympanic fissure. There is a structure which is called as the squamotympanic fissure. Through this pterygoid venous plexus will pass. So pterygoid venous plexus, and the second one is the superior petrosal sinus. Superior petrosal sinus. You should be familiar with the names. Now the lymphatic drainage, it is to the upper deep cervical lymph nodes. Some goes to the retropharyngeal lymph nodes as well. Now the nerve supply, it's a little complicated. So go break it down into small pieces, and then you can study it again and again. This is important. So the nerve supply is very important. Let's see. First of all, the Jacobson's nerves, that is the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. It's also called as the Jacobson's nerve, and it enters the middle ear through the floor of the tympanic cavity, and then it forms the tympanic plexus we saw in the diagram. And what it does, it supplies sensory supply to the middle ear part lining only uh, antrum and the auditory tube. Yes, it has more preganglionic and parasympathetic fibers, but they supply the parotid gland. Okay, then superior and inferior caroticotympanic nerves. These are derived from sympathetic plexus around the internal carotid artery. That's why the name caroticotympanic. They are derived from the plexus around the internal carotid artery, and they are vasomotor, means they will control the blood supply to the middle ear. Now the facial nerve, it is only running in the bony canal. Yes, it is running in the bony canal, and we have seen it in the diagram in the posterior and medial walls of the tympanic cavity. And now it will give three branches: chordae tympani, greater petrosal nerve, and nerve to stapedius. Now this chordae tympani, we have seen that it carries taste sensation from anterior two-third of the tongue, right? And it also provides secretomotor fibers to the salivary glands. Yes, that details you can see in the chapter of the salivary gland. So submandibular and sublingual salivary glands will be supplied by the branches from the chordae tympani nerve. Now the next one is the greater petrosal nerve. It will supply the lacrimal, nasal and palatal mucous glands. So lacrimal glands, you know, because of that tearing happens. So it happens due to the nerve supply from the greater petrosal nerve, which is a branch of facial nerve. Yes. Then nerve to stapedius. So this nerve to stapedius, it's a branch of facial nerve. You know that stapedius muscle is one of the muscles that is present inside the middle ear. Which is the other muscle? Yes, tensor tympani muscle. So the tensor tympani muscle is supplied by the mandibular nerve. Mandibular nerve. I am talking about motor supply. So coming to the next point. The next point is the tympanic plexus. So this tympanic plexus, uh, it gives certain branches like tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. Yes, which we saw already, Jacobson's nerve. Then superior and inferior caroticotympanic nerves, which we saw. Yes, and a branch from facial ganglion, which is called as the geniculate ganglion. So what this plexus does, where it is present, we have seen already that it is present in the medial wall of the middle ear. And what this plexus does, it supplies the mucous membrane. What it supplies? It supplies the mucous membrane of the middle ear. It also supplies the mastoid air cells, and the mastoid antrum will have certain mastoid air cells, and also the eustachian tube. All this, the bony part of the eustachian tube. You know that the eustachian tube has a bony part and a cartilaginous part. So only the bony part will be supplied by the branches from the tympanic plexus. Okay. Now the last point here about lesser petrosal nerve. So this lesser petrosal nerve is a derivative from the tympanic plexus, and it carries certain fibers to glossopharyngeal nerve. Yes, and it goes to the parotid gland. Okay. So mastoid antrum, it is a large filled space present inside the mastoid process, right? And this mastoid process is present where? Inside the petrous part of tympanic bone, and it has got certain boundaries. What are the boundaries of this mastoid antrum? First is the roof. Roof is formed by the tegment tympani. Then there is the floor of the antrum, which receives the opening of mastoid air cells. Mastoid antrum has a lateral wall, which is formed by the squamous part of temporal bone, and it is marked on the surface by suprametal triangle. So you have to remember this for the surface anatomy. And the posterior wall is related to sigmoid sinus. That means from behind, inside intracranially, there is this sigmoid sinus which is coming in contact with the mastoid antrum. And the medial wall is towards the internal ear, and it is having this bulging of the lateral semicircular canal which is present inside the internal ear. Now let's see this pharyngotympanic tube. Now in this pharyngotympanic tube, uh, we discuss it separately, but here I am just pointing out that this tube, this pharyngotympanic tube, this has got two parts. It has got a bony part, this is the white colored bony part, and this is the cartilaginous part. This side is the pharyngeal opening and this side is the tympanic opening. Now this structure is the middle ear. Yes, so this is marked as the tympanic cavity, which is middle ear, and this lens like structure is the tympanic membrane, and on this side is the external ear. Okay, and you see the white ones, these are the ear ossicles. So auditory tube or pharyngotympanic tube, as we have seen, it's an osteocartilaginous structure which connects the nasopharynx with the tympanic cavity. Yes, and what is the direction? Downward, forward, and medially. Downward, forward, and medially from the tympanic cavity to the nasopharynx. And what it does, we already know from the previous slides, that it maintains the equilibrium of air pressure so that the tympanic membrane uh, does not get injured due to the vibrations of the sound. So now coming to the applied aspects. So otitis media, otitis, this word otitis means the infection of the ear. Otitis media, media means middle ear. So otitis media means the infection of the middle ear. So how it will spread? Through the nasopharynx, through the auditory tube. Yes, and it is very common in the infants and children. If they have common cold, you have to take care that the ear doesn't start paining. So they start complaining after 2-3 days of common cold. Ears are paining. That time you should understand that he is having the beginning of the otitis media. And if you don't treat this otitis media, if you don't treat the common cold of that child, then the child will have a untreated infection for long time, which will cause damage to the ear, and this damage is called chronic suppurative otitis media. Means untreated inflammation is present in the body for many days. Then there will be even the bony changes in the bony walls of this middle ear. So chronic means for many days, more than 6 months. Suppurative means something is going to come out, so there is going to be a discharge. Suppurative means pertaining to discharge, so there will be discharge from this ear, middle ear. So it is called CSOM. The ENT surgeons, they will have this short form talking to each other, CSOM. So what happens because of it? There will be perforation of tympanic membrane. There will be discharge from the ear. So externally, that this something is coming out. So patient will come with the complaint that there is discharge from the external ear. Now, still if the patient is not treating, then what will happen? There will be certain complications. There can be acute mastoiditis, mastoid abscess. So, infection will spread to the mastoid antrum. Then it will spread through the thin roof. The thin roof is called tegmen tympani of the middle ear. So, thin roof of the middle ear. This infection will spread to meninges and temporal lobe. Yes, then it can cause facial palsy of the lower motor neuron type because the facial canal is eroding. Facial canal is eroding, and we saw that posteriorly lies the sigmoid sinus, posterior to the mastoid antrum. So there will be a thrombosis in the sigmoid sinus. Sigmoid sinus is nothing but a vascular structure, a venous structure. So it will have thrombosis, and the infection will spread all over the floor of the middle ear wall. Now there can be labyrinthitis. What is labyrinthitis? Means that the infection is spreading to the labyrinth of the internal ear. Yes, then inside the internal ear there are certain structures which keep us from not falling down, which are responsible for our balance. Yes, which are responsible for not causing vertigo. So the labyrinths, when there will be labyrinthitis, the patient will complain of vomiting and vertigo. Yes, and then also there will be abscess spreading to the cerebellum. Abscess spreading to the cerebellum. Thank you very much. Hope you like the video.